This is Keisean Raines, the host of Working Title with Keisean Raines, where amazing things happen. A series of pass the collection plate style conversations with a Creole, queer, femme, yogi, mom, coach, author, and of course podcast host, with a nomadic soul, a quirky sense of humor, and an activator of empowerment. These conversations are just a chance for me to speak on ways to be mindful in a mindless world. Stories are shared, folks are empowered, inspired, and impacted to be more phenomenal versions of themselves through simple conversations about complex like love, life, and the pursuit of being real. Thanks for listening. So what makes these episodes unique is that they were recorded at the height of the quarantine. And years from now, we'll look back and be like, remember when there was a quarantine? Remember we were locked up in our houses for 3 or 4 months and we couldn't go outside because we're afraid of a big old scary virus? Remember that? Remember that? Well, I kept recording the podcast and decided to archive these episodes for later when the quarantine was over, which I think is now. So keep in mind, some of these might be a little wonky. The audio quality might be a little off, but I still think the conversations are valuable and worth listening to. So here is an episode from the Quarantine, also known as COVID-19, also known as the coronavirus, also known as that one time at band camp when we weren't allowed to go outside for half of the year. Enjoy. Hello.
Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. Love it.
It's so exciting.
So good.
For so many reasons. Really, for real, get started because I know as soon as we actually start talking about something, it's going to be amazing. For starters, this is, of course, my podcast, which means it's a safe space. It's a space where you can speak freely, use whatever language that feels most comfortable to you, take up as much space as you would like. My intention is for it to feel very much like a regular conversation between friends. I will ask you some questions to kind of guide the conversation, and then there's a second segment towards the end, and I'll give you like a heads up as to when that's happening, and then I like to close it out with a little fun game thing that I do. And then at the very, very end, I will leave you with a little bit of a simple, subtle, and fun party.
Ooh, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so we are finally recording this podcast. I feel like from the time that I first met you that I just connected with you immediately and felt like a kindred, connection. And I know that you've been in my life for almost a year. It'll be like summertime. It'll be like a year that I met you. And what's great is we have such amazing conversations when it's just us. That sometimes so much is shared and so many gems, so to speak, are dropped between us that I'm like, other people need to hear these things. So I'm excited that our schedules aligned for us to be able to do this today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the mic, so to speak, over to you and give you a chance to introduce yourself to the listeners. Tell us your name, where you're from, and what you stand for.
Love that. Hello, everyone. My name is Simone. I am originally from DC, but currently I grew up in Houston and currently residing back in Houston. Keisean and I met in DC, but that's where I'm at now. And what do I stand for? That's a multi-layered question, but to make it short, I think I just stand for all things, leading with love. I think that the commonalities of all of the things that I'm into, that I do stand for. There's just so many to list. It's just leading through the eyes of love and unconditional love at that. Just being open and willing to receive everyone in their bodies, in where they are, meeting, people where they are. and just honoring myself through this journey we call life. Yeah, that's in a nutshell, I guess.
Right. I always get similar feedback or responses from people whenever I ask my intro question, because it's the same question that I ask everybody. And I think that for people, like if you've ever been featured on a podcast before, if you've ever even been interviewed before, and someone typically asks for you to say like, oh, what's your name and where are you
Right.
from? And that's kind of like
Yeah.
it. And for me, what I like about asking the question of what do you stand for is that it gives me so much
Yeah.
insight about a person and who they think they
Yeah.
are and what they think of themselves in that moment.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll get the response that's very like rehearsed, you know, like I stand for
Yeah.
peace, justice, and black power or whatever, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Whereas like if you ask a person, you know, when they're not expecting it,
Right.
like I
Right.
do, then I tend to get a much more like authentic
I think
answer,
so.
which is kind of
Yeah,
cool.
I think so. I love that. You know, I'm all
Yeah.
about the authentic. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So if what would you say would be like your profession? This is where like the boring questions is. What do you
What do you
do? What do
do?
you do?
But I like that it's like, you know, when I think a lot of people do when they answer the question what do they stand for, a lot of times it ties into their job, like, oh, I stand for, you know, government, blah blah blah, and you're like, do you really, or is that just your job, you know? And I
Correct.
think that it's a cool thing, something that we share, a commonality that we share, is that I think that we're fortunate enough to do the things that give us joy or bring us joy, and are
Exactly.
laced and are lined with that like theory of unconditional love, right? So I myself, I'm a Reiki practitioner, I'm a yoga instructor, I'm a ex-bartender. I was a bartender for about 3.5, 4 years, I'm a traveler. I'm a woman of the world. You know, I think I just have my hands in a lot of different things, and which is a cool place to be, especially
Mm-hmm.
during this whole ordeal, as I like to call it. I refuse
Mm-hmm.
to put a name on it. I can't. But
You
you
know,
know,
it's funny that you say
like,
that. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing
yeah.
that. It's funny that you say that because you touched on so many things. One is that what you do for a
Mm-hmm.
living, which is also, you know, okay, total
Yeah.
sidebar, and I swear I'm going to come back to this
It's
point.
okay. It's okay.
In the last couple of days, I have been paying so much attention to the language that I use for so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain phrases that we say 1,000 times, we've heard 1,000 times, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we kind of repeat them without really thinking about like their root.
Correct.
So when people say, what do you do for a living? It's like, what do I do for a living?
Right.
What do I do to make a living?
Exactly.
And I think about like, what have we made living about? When did living
Exactly.
become about material gain and
Yes.
blah, 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 all this other bullshit? Like living was living,
Breathing.
breathing, walking,
Exactly.
loving, freedom.
Exactly.
So anyway, so when I say,
Yes.
what do you do for a living? I'm
Yes.
like, what do you
I
do for
love
a
that.
living?
Yeah.
What do
Yeah,
but
because you know,
so
some people are out
yeah.
here selling their ass to make a living. You know what I mean? Like, I
Hey,
mean, and that's what it is,
exactly.
but that doesn't mean that's defining what they are doing to live. Right?
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Exactly.
love
And I
that.
think
Love
that is
that.
the thing that created or creates the space for people like ourselves to
Mhm.
kind of serve as like a reminder for that. Like,
Right.
what are you doing to live? What are you
Yeah.
doing to bring the sensation of actually living your
That's
life
such a good
into
question.
your
Yeah.
experience, you know? Because sometimes people, like you said, they kind of get caught up in like, oh, well, this is what I do for a living, and this is
Mhm.
how I make money, and
Mhm.
you know, this is the job that I have,
Right.
and it doesn't really carry a lot of like good feelings or like love with
That's
it.
right.
So
That's
it's
right.
interesting that when you said what you stand for was leading with love
Mhm.
and really identifying and embracing the concept of unconditional
That's
love.
right.
So my first question for you is,
Yeah.
what does unconditional love look like?
Ooh, that's a good question. Also, side note to these listeners, Keyshawn just really has this ability to ask these questions that make you ponder like life as a whole, you know, just it's like philosophical questions, which I really love because, you know, you have common friends, casual friends that you're just chit chatting about, but there's no substance. And
Mm,
I love that question. Anyway, so What does that look like to me? I think it looks like kind of what I was touching on earlier. Like, I really am in this space right now of meeting people where they're at, and allowing and giving grace to the people that I come into contact with. And that doesn't mean right, because there's a fine line. I think that grace and kind of like looking the other way, you know, kind of teeter-totter a line. Like, I'm not saying that I'm not going to be the person that would like correct or try to bring to light a situation, you know, if that presented itself. But being able to do that comes with giving the grace that, okay, maybe they are just ignorant to this, right? Maybe we're just on two different frequencies. You know what I mean? Maybe they're not seeing. I mean, I can't believe that, even in, especially in this day and age, I can't believe that we're all seeing through the same lenses. I don't believe that. Yeah, there's lots of us on. I mean, most of us are on just totally different frequencies, right? And that's a beautiful thing. I mean, that's awesome, right? There's so many waves and currents that make up, you know, the world, but to me, when I'm offering unconditional love, and it is an offer, it's a gift that I'm giving, right, to somebody, it just looks like being understanding. It looks like grace. It looks like patience. It looks like philosophical questions, maybe even to people that you don't really care about. Like, for an example, I mentioned bartending because, not that I loved actual bartending. I mean, it was a fun thing. It was great, but it was because of what I learned about people, like the psychology of people, me being this one person, and then just in a sea of people, and seeing how they react and the different thought patterns and perspectives of the world. You know, because when you're in DC, it's kind of representative of the world. It's very international, very transient.
It's like an actual melting
right,
pot. Yeah,
right,
and very transient.
right.
Very few people in DC are from DC.
No, everybody's a transplant, exactly. So I'm really getting to see and like taste all these different people, right? And I say taste because it was just it's like a small window, you know. This is not who the person is, but even just in knowing that, meeting that with you know, okay, well, this is just one perspective of them. That doesn't represent the whole person, right? That's an example of unconditional love, loving them anyway, being okay with who they are anyway, still serving them and still engaging with them, you know, like a friend would, right? Still providing them with that service. That's unconditional love. No matter, this person could have called me out of my name. This person could have called, I mean, you know, totally off the wall stuff, which did happen, but it was, again, meeting them where they're at. Okay, well, they did not grow up like me. Obviously, they don't believe in what I believe in. They don't stand for what I stand for. So why would I kind of drain my own, you know, energy in engaging in a negative way with them when they just might be lacking in unconditional love? A lot of people don't even really know what that is, right? You might know what love is. People might know. Oh, I know.
Do people really know that though?
But
like, do people like low key? Do people really know?
I think that
what love is, or is it based on, you know, like if you think of like we come into this world and we're little tiny babies and we have these big open minds that are like these big old sponges ready to absorb everything,
right?
And we see, you know, quote unquote examples or modelings of love only because someone later defines us and says, oh, that's love,
right?
But when we're just in it, you know, and we're experiencing it, like, you know, a mother to, just celebrated Mother's Day a couple days ago.
That's right.
Like a mother to a child. It's like, oh, that's love. But it's like, how do we know that she loves her child? Well, because of the way she interacts with him, because of the way she talks to him, because of the grace that she gives him. But I think there's like that kind of unconditional love. But I don't know if people are aware of what unconditional love looks like outside of something like that.
Exactly. Well, because, and then even like you said, I think that's a perspective. A mother to child love is a perspective of love. You know what I mean? Like my perspective of how this person parents their child might be like, oh my God, look at them. They don't love that child. You look what they're, you know what I mean? You know, they letting them run all crazy, doing all kind of shit or whatever, you know? That's, to me, that's through my eyes, through my lenses, I'm like, girl, you don't love your kid, you know? But and it varies, obviously. But I think that the part, like, love is it's energy, right? It's just one of those
Mm-hmm.
things that, you know, it can't necessarily be created or destroyed. It just is, right? That just is an
Mm-hmm.
entity. But I think the unconditional part is the
Mm-hmm.
part that people have absolutely no idea how to, even myself, I mean, it's a journey, right? It's not something that
Mm.
you're like, I know the definition of
Here it is
unconditional.
on
Yeah.
page
Yeah.
32 of my book titled I Know
Know
Unconditional Love.
everything. Yeah.
I know everything. Chapter 47.
Thank
How
you.
I learned everything.
Right, like nobody knows that, but I think for me the unconditional part came from a consistently genuine place that I can go to within myself, okay,
Mm-hmm.
where love always resides. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's this place, like we can be so filled with hate sometimes, and we can be so filled with malice and this, and you know, you might even be in a really just dark place. But there is always this one place in your heart that is saved, whether for you or for other people, for unconditional, consistent, genuine, real love. That is what I
Mm-hmm.
believe.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not people, I mean, usually people at this point are like, oh my God, that's so crazy. Like, what are you talking about? Who told you that? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, it's not, I don't think anybody had to tell me, but I think that I personally believe that I have identified what that place is, and
Right.
it's a place, because just like you meditate, you know, you're going within, it's, you're literally finding that, and that becoming your consciousness. Okay, I'm
Mm-hmm.
in this place of unconditional love, which means, again, you meet people where they are and you continuously show them love no matter what the grounds are, and that's just
Mm.
it. Yeah.
So, do you think that it's possible for a person to develop unconditional love for someone that would, in any way, even on an energetic scale, mirror the type of unconditional love that happens between a mother and a child?
Mm. So, one more time.
So, when I think of unconditional love that I feel for my son,
Mm-hmm.
there's no limit
Mm-hmm.
to how deep it can go.
Yes.
There's not even really a definitive beginning and end to it. It just is, like you said, it's
Yes.
energetic. It's on a level of, he could literally run
Mm-hmm.
over my toe, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to love him any less.
Right.
Um,
Right.
well, unconditional love. It's love
Mm-hmm.
without conditions.
Correct.
And so I feel like, even back to what I was saying earlier, the sidebar about paying attention to language,
Mm-hmm.
is what other kind of love is there if
Mm-hmm.
it's not
Yes.
unconditional? Is it even
Yes.
love at
I
that
don't
point?
think so.
Because it seems like unconditional love is like a, what do you call it? Like a double entendre. It's like you're saying the
Yes.
same thing. If I feel for
Yes.
you unconditionally, therefore I love
Right.
you.
Right.
So,
But
yeah.
yes. And so thank you for that, clarifying that, because that, the point of, to me, there, like, in the concepts, if you look at like even religion and
Mm,
you know, how people like have developed, you know, these theories of
hmm.
love, um they all came from these higher entities, right?
Yes.
They all came from these higher beings, these energetic beings that we've never been able to see, touch, feel, any of that, right? We don't even, and we're actually just going off of a knowing that somebody else and somebody else and somebody else and somebody else has told them and them and them and them and them, right?
Yep.
So why is it that we're so able to comfortably just be like, oh, well, this is what it is, and I just believe that, and I have unconditional love for God, or you know, the spirit, or whatever
Hmm.
you believe
Hmm.
in, right?
Hmm.
How are you able to have unconditional love for that person and they can do no wrong in that, but you can't have that same love for people? It's not love.
Right.
It might be like, it might be lust, it might be you
All of
know,
those other things.
connectedness, yeah,
Yep.
it could be anything, but it's
Hmm.
not love specifically.
Right.
that's
And
that's what I
yeah,
think.
I
Yeah.
I know that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense, especially when you think
Yeah.
about love as being an energetic entity.
Right.
And if
Right.
it's made of energy, that there is no, there's not necessarily a beginning and an end to it. It's
No,
boundless.
it's infinite.
And
That's
so it's
right.
infinite,
Yeah.
exactly. So when I
Right.
was listening, like, to what you were saying about kind of describing like what does unconditional love look like, you
Mm-hmm.
said things like grace,
Mm-hmm.
patience,
Yeah.
loving anyway,
Right.
meeting where they are,
Right.
consistency,
Yep.
genuine,
Yep.
and a safe place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if
Mm-hmm.
we can create those experiences for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves and other
That's right.
people, then I
Mm-hmm.
think that that is probably one of the most like obvious, I guess, ways to describe what unconditional love actually looks like,
That's right.
you know?
That's
And I
right.
think sometimes people don't really know what it looks like because if all love, essentially, in order to be love, is unconditional, they may not have experienced a lot of grace or a lot of
Correct.
patience. They may not
Correct.
have experienced feeling safe, feeling consistent about the person.
That's
So
right.
I think that's where people start to kind of get a little convoluted and in
Mm-hmm.
understanding, was that a love? Or like you said, was it like? Was it
Mm-hmm.
admiration? Was
Right.
it,
It could be respect
intrigue?
even.
Was it
Yeah.
respect? Was it like
Yeah.
honor? Like, ooh, I honor that person. That, ooh,
Right.
okay. Versus like love, because I agree. I
Right.
think love comes from a divine source, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
the deeper that we go when we look inside of ourselves to find our own, container for love,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that keeps it fueled and filled is from an infinite source beyond
Correct.
us. So
Correct.
that's
There
why I
would
think
never
it's
not be love.
there will never
Yes.
not be love.
That's right.
Exactly. There will never
Yep.
not be love. So,
Yep.
what are your thoughts
Love that.
on identifying, well, no, not identifying, but how do you know, or how are you able to
Mm-hmm.
identify when you feel unconditional love? What happens
Mm.
in you?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that too, actually, when you were speaking, because that's a hard thing. I think
Mhm.
that it comes definitely from time. No, it's not from time. I think what it is an awareness, right?
Okay.
I think it's an intentional awareness that you choose to kind of have this like fisheye lens
Mm,
of everything in the world, right? Like you
hmm.
have this like super zoomed in, like extended peripheral vision, right, of what limits and boundaries are. You know what I mean? So what for me, when I meet a person, I'm an empath, so for me energy speaks volumes, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And initially, the moment that I receive a good energetic like reciprocity from somebody, I'm like, oh
Hmm.
my God, I love them. It doesn't matter what we have in common. It doesn't matter what
Hmm.
they look like. It doesn't matter where they're from. It doesn't matter what they do. I'm just like, I love them, right? And that doesn't mean I want to be in love with them. It doesn't mean I want to date them or anything of that nature, but it just means that I love them to where if they were to hit me right now, right? I
Hmm.
don't know, like I wouldn't love them any less because because they have a reason for it, right?
Right.
Again, I'm meeting them at where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
There's this person is obviously off this, and but I mean there's so many reasons, right? There can be an explanation, but it doesn't mean that I'm gonna be like, oh my God, I hate you now. It's just gonna be like, damn, well, I love you, but shit, what's up?
What's
You
happening?
know what I mean?
What's
Yeah,
going
like what's
on?
going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah.
And that came from, I think for me personally, that came from having so much anger and hate towards people for
Mm,
so long.
yeah.
For so long. And it
Yeah.
started even rooted from having hate for my actual parents, the people who
Mm,
brought me into this world, the people, like circling back, that were supposed to give me unconditional love.
mm-hmm.
Right. And from maybe not even having a standard of expectation for what that was. They
Mm-hmm.
might love they loved me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm their kid,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no question about that. Like they liked me. Hell,
Right.
they let me
They at
stay,
least
and
liked you enough to
I
feed
mean,
you for a little while, make sure you
yeah,
didn't die. You know what I
then
mean? The
die.
basics.
Yeah. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
right? But I don't think that, there's so many different situations
Mm,
where I'm like, this is not a display of unconditional love. I could feel detachment, right?
yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing, that detachment. Like, we practice non-attachment and things, but non-attachment doesn't come from physical, energetic detachment. It comes from non-expectation,
Expectations.
and
Right.
so that's a different thing. But so going back to your question, yeah, I think for me, once I realized that place within myself, because I had to find it within myself because I didn't have an example of it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it became, and this was me, my realization point was in India when I was getting my yoga teacher certification.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, if you haven't been to India, fucking go. I'm talking to your listeners. Holy shit. Oh my God. Go, go, go.
Make it happen.
But make it happen. Yeah. But that was where I kind of came to this point where I had unconditional love for myself. Like I could do anything. I could murder somebody and I would still love myself. You know what I mean? I could do the unthinkable, the unimaginable, and I would still be like, well, Simone, this is, you only have you. You're one, even if you're not in this body, you're still going to be this soul. You know what I mean? Like my name might not be Simone in another lifetime or another dimension or whatever, but I'm still this soul and I still have to provide that love for myself because I'm going to be alive forever, right? My soul will live on forever. My energy will be it's infinite, you know? So I think when we realize that, then it becomes, it just becomes a little bit, you become small and you realize that this unconditional love is so much bigger than you. And you are just a vessel to carry it.
Yes. I think that's exactly, I think you touched on so many things, and something that stood out was when you said it's like an extended vision of what limits and boundaries are, and whether or not they even really exist when it comes to the concept or the entity of love. And I think knowing that feelings and emotions are, energetic representations as well. And when they manifest as anger or disappointment, or they manifest as hate, that they're really presenting themselves because they are a reminder that your soul self, your soul center wants to go back into that infinite space of love. So that's where I think we're always being tugged just gently sometimes, or bitch slapped during a full moon back into that direction. And I think
hello,
that,
thank you.
and that happens sometimes. But I think that when we take the time to really go inward and like look inside and say, okay, wait, you know, I I want to feel the abundant joy that comes with love. I want to be in that space. And I think that if we're able to recognize that we can kind of transmute, anger and hate can be transmuted into love. It can be, and some people say like, I can't just shake that. I can't just get rid of it. I can't just release it. And I'm like, you don't have to
Yeah,
release
you can.
I'm like, you have choices. You can either release it or you can transmute it. Which do you feel like you can do? Is it easier for you to drop the ball or to throw it directly into a bullseye? Which one's easier?
Well,
Just drop it?
but what
Let it go?
people
Yeah.
what people end up doing is creating their own third option, and they're like, well, I'm
See,
just
no, that
gonna
wasn't.
hold
Yeah,
on
that
to
wasn't
this for a little
presented. We
bit.
don't have that on the menu today,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Right,
It's not
right,
available.
right.
Drop
It's
it
not
or
available.
change it.
That's it.
Those
That's
are your
it.
two
That's
options.
it. Because people just want to carry shit around in their fucking backpacks. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dude, where are
You know what?
you
But
going?
there's no room. There's literally no
There's
room.
no
There's
room.
no.
No, you can only take your body. That's
That's
it.
it.
Just
That's
you.
it.
That's
That's
it.
it.
Yes.
Exactly. No one.
Yeah.
No one. Anybody got time for that?
Anybody got time
I
for
love what you
it?
said. There was a word that you said or a phrase that you said that I
Mm-hmm.
wrote down, and I was like, that's a title of a song or a book. Is
Ooh.
energetic reciprocity.
Yes. Damn it. I've been missing the shit that I say. Thank you for
I
writing
wrote
that
it down.
down.
I
Yes.
wrote it down.
Thank
Energetic
you.
reciprocity.
Yes.
Like, I just want
Yes.
people to like let that sink in. Like, what
Let that
does that
simmer.
feel like? What does that look like?
Mm.
To know that as you're moving through this life or relationships, that there is a presence of energetic reciprocity, which
Mm-hmm.
means nobody is lacking, nobody
Mm-hmm.
is giving too much, nobody's
Mm-hmm.
going without, no one
That's right.
feels smothered. It's
Yep.
just reciprocity. It's that exchange, that like return of like, oh my God, I'm getting
Yes.
exactly what I'm putting in. And it like makes your body feel looser. You know what I mean? It makes
That's
everything
right.
feel like it's just flowing. And I think sometimes we forget that because love is boundless, we don't have to try to
Mm-hmm.
contain it or limit it based
Thank
on what we think it's
you.
supposed to look like. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
So this is
So good.
where I am going to ask you a couple more questions.
Okay.
So earlier you mentioned that you have chosen not to give this time that we've been in for the last 9 weeks a name. Would you like to share a little more about that? Why are we not giving it a name? Why don't we want to call it something?
Because for me, thank you. That's what it is. God damn it. Because there's two things, right?
Okay.
The first is, for me, with anything, once you put a label or a name or something concrete to describe something, then it becomes so real, right? And it becomes so a thing. And I think that because the name of this thing was given to us by the government or whoever the hell, you know what I mean? The scientists, whoever found the shit. Okay. Like, I mean, it was presented to it like that, but it was presented in a very fake and disingenuous and just like kind of, a blinded way. It was very biased, and it's been very racial, and it's been discriminatory, and it's been all of these negative, horrible things. So for me, calling it by that name means that is what they're describing is real.
Ooh,
okay. For me, I have been this was a time that was awarded to me, right?
Thank you for saying
this
that.
this was a gift. Now, do we always like our gifts? No. Okay. Right. And this might be a multi-layered gift where, you're getting other stuff or other things, at different times, whatever, because we've been in this, for maybe like 2 months now. But it's still a gift. It was still awarded to me. And it was a time, it is for me a time to reflect and to be introspective and to grow myself. It was like, it's a darkness, right? We're all in this kind of feeling around in the darkness, but instead of feeling around, I just chose to become a seedling and planted my bitch ass. Okay. And now it's like, so now my darkness is like, oh, cool, I'm in the dark, but that's a bet because I'm about to emerge, right? I'm growing myself. It's not me as a human already, like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm feeling around the dark like it's a blackout. I don't feel like that, So like I said, me giving it that name, COVID, fucking
Whatever,
whoever.
right.
It's just, I don't know what that is. What I know that this is right now is my time. It was a gift from the universe. And when I change my perspective to look at it like that, it just becomes more of a positive experience, even through the negative things or the, bad days or whatever the case may be that I run into. I still choose to pull something from the gift. I still choose to appreciate this gift.
That is so dope. Like,
thank you.
I just want anybody who listens to this to just take a moment, lean your earlobe a little closer to the speaker so you can hear that shit. I wrote down, I have been planted in fertile ground. Awarded. You said awarded to me. This time has been awarded to me. And when you think about language, again, it's one thing to be given something. It's an entirely different experience to be awarded something, because when we present an award, it's because it's been earned. It's been earned.
It's been what?
It's been earned. It's been
that's
earned.
Right.
It's been something that you put in time, energy, effort, blood, sweat, tears, money, pain, all the shit. And you get the award at the end, and you feel, not the end, but you get the award, and you're able to look back and say, wow, I really did earn this shit. I really did.
You earn your stripes. That's
You go through the trenches, and you overcome the obstacles, and you go through the transformations. And at the end, you're awarded with the feeling of, oh, I'm on the right track. Okay, cool. I'm going to keep going. And I think I'm in agreement with you as far as recognizing this time as a positive experience, as something that was awarded to me, that was created for me, that I asked for, legit asked for. And was, like sometimes a great gift, or there's something that you really want, but you just won't get it for yourself for whatever reason. Like these fucking AirPods, they're fan-fucking-tastic, okay? Fucking the AirPod Pro, here is a non-ad. Love these
Yeah.
shits, okay? I was not
Yes. I love it.
going to get them for myself
Right.
anytime
Yeah.
soon. I was going to
Me
put it
neither.
off and put it off and
Right.
putting it off till later, and later would become
Right.
never and I wouldn't have them. But the
Correct.
universe was
Correct.
like, hey girl, I see you over there
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
planted in this fertile ground,
Mm-hmm.
and I see you sprouting
Thank you
up
so much.
above the surface and taking in some
Yes.
sunshine. I see you
Yes.
stretching out a
Yes.
little further than you were doing before. You know what? Here
Boom.
you go. Here's this
Here you go.
that doesn't
Here
come
you
from
go.
your pockets, but comes from
That's
the
right.
hands of a person who's like, I see you growing, I see you
That's right.
sprouting, and I want to just
That's
give you
right.
a little extra. So I feel
That's
like
right.
changing the perspective and being able to recognize that the time was a gift, and that truth be told, that all time is a gift. It's just a matter of how you choose to
That's what
look
it
at
is.
it. I think
That's
that
correct.
not giving it a name that triggers any type of negativity is important. So I
Mm-hmm.
was writing the other day, and the thing that kept coming up to me was like, this is a pause. It's the pause. It's not the
I
beginning. It's
love
not the
that.
end. It's the pause. It's
Yes.
like, ooh,
Yes. That's
pause,
right.
weaning,
Ooh, I
everything
like that.
stops for a moment. But yet, even
Mm,
in a pause, there's movement happening, but it's not big movement. It's not even
exactly.
visible
That's right.
movement, but
Right.
there's still energy being
Right.
pumped through. There's still a vibration
Yeah.
happening. And
That's
what's
right.
exciting to me is that when I look back on this time from wherever that looks like, what I'm looking back
Right.
at it with, I don't
Right.
know. But
'Cause shit.
when I
Correct.
look back on it, I know that this is a time when I'm going to say, wow, and then there was a pause and my whole life
Hmm.
changed again.
That's
So
right.
it's a
That's right.
beautiful time.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful time.
What are
It
kind of
is. It absolutely is.
what are some discoveries that you've made about yourself during this time, if any, that you'd like to share? You don't have to share all of them,
Ooh.
of course, but whatever ones you like.
Yeah. I'm like, there's
Tell
so
me.
many. That's funny. So the two biggest ones,
Okay.
I'll pick two. The first one was me finding love. Now that we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about that, finding love during this time, and it was so crazy because I had been manifesting unconditional love for quite
Mm.
some time. And it wasn't until this is actually something that I'm putting in my
Okay.
course, so stay tuned. But it's the theory of how you manifest, right? Because I think that for me, I had to find like a different way to understand how to manifest. I don't know that everybody knows how to properly manifest. Hell, I don't even know if this is right, but it works for me. Shit.
Then it's right.
So
That's how that
it's
works. Yeah.
then it's right. Exactly. Boom. True. So it's literally the act of sitting with some or like thinking something, right? So you have a thought, right? So my thought is I want to find unconditional
Mm-hmm.
love, right? First within myself, because that's where it starts. You can attract what you already don't
Mm-hmm.
have within you. We have to all know that. Okay. So I had identified where my unconditional love for myself was, and I'm working to actively, be that and own that and
Mm-hmm.
live that. Right. And so now I can welcome in people who, with that energetic reciprocity, are on the same energetic field as I. Right. So I thought about that. I meditate with that. So I sit with it, and just figure out the details and the intricacies and what that means and what it feels, what it tastes like, what it looks like,
Mm-hmm.
all of that, right? Because if you tap into your creativity, then all these dope things come about, right? All these
Right.
unimaginable things. You sit with that, then you write it down. You told me this
Mm-hmm.
actually probably
Yep.
hella long ago. Like, write the
Write it
shit
down.
down. Yes, write it down, because once it's written, like what were you saying? You were like, laws
Yeah.
are written, right? So it becomes a law for
Yep.
you. It becomes something real and tangible once you
Mm-hmm.
write it down. So it becomes like
Mm-hmm.
active almost. And so I wrote it down, meditated on it again, and then I just began to almost live my life as if it
Yeah.
was already done.
Yep.
You just kind of are like, okay, cool. Well, that's good. And now I'm just going to wait, and I'm going to continue on my daily life, and I'm going to keep pouring love into myself and keep doing this and keep doing that. And then when you least expect it, like what happened to me, somebody just gets dropped in your lap, and you're like, who the fuck sent you?
Oh, I did. I ordered. I requested
exactly.
for you from
Thank
this
you.
lovely abundant universe.
Literally ordered you.
Said,
Thank you.
That's what I want.
Yes.
It's like
yes.
being in a
And to the really to the
Yeah.
extent of it literally excuse me, being verbatim every single thing. When I met this person, Keisean, I went back to that page and I was like, check, holy fuck, check. I'm like, I wrote her down. I wrote her down. I did. I wrote her down. And I told her that. And it just became that much more intense and fulfilling and just beautiful. Even through, people argue and shit, but it's just like, man, this is beautiful, because even in these arguments, I'm seeing the things that I wrote down. I wrote down very detailed things, like in an argument, I still want to be able to be heard. In this, I'm talking about details. Not I just want them to like have abs. Like, bitch, nobody
That's
cares.
not a thing. I mean, actually, let me take that back. If
thing.
that's all that you
Who
care
cares?
about, then there you go. Then
and guess what? You're gonna get somebody with abs who has the brain of a fucking empty walnut shell. Yeah.
We're like, how low can we go?
And they're gonna be like, well, you said you wanted abs, so shit.
Here is your dumb as rocks ab person.
Yeah.
Fuck. No.
Right. You know what I mean? So that just, but I had to, it was because I was again afforded this time to sit in myself and be like, what exactly do I want? What exactly does make me happy? What can I imagine beyond my greatest, mind, my wildest dreams? What can I imagine? Because guess what? It's kind of like that saying when they're like, shoot for the stars, but aim or fall in the clouds or some shit. You know what I mean? The universe is going to give you, the source energy is going to give you what you need, what's already in alignment, what's already supposed to be for you. But you have to be intentional in what you will allow to come to you.
Correct.
That's what it is. I learned allowance through love.
Exactly. Allowance is a big part of manifestation. It's actually, I think, the part of manifestation that is the quote unquote secret ingredient that people are like, I made a vision board and I wrote down everything I wanted and I told 5 friends or whatever, but she just not showing up. And it's like, bitch, are you allowing her to show up? Did you think about that part? But people, they leave it out. And the reason why I think that they leave it out is that it means that they have to change a little bit. They have to alter themselves a little bit. They have to go down a different street because they've been going the same way for 20 years. And it's like, if you want to end up a different place, you might take a different direction, reroute your shit. And so I think that the allowance also requires trust. It requires trust in yourself.
Self-trust, yes.
And it requires faith in the universe, but it requires trust in yourself. And it requires you to trust that you deserve what it is that you're asking for therefore are allowing.
That's right.
You can't, like, you can't say, I want, and then have your,
and then keep swatting
I keep,
away.
Look, I'm over here asking for stuff. Stop. Oh, wait, you are the stuff that I asked for? Oops, my bad.
Thank you. Exactly. Because that was the thing. It was like, and I think when we're talking about people specifically, it's interesting because I'm not a surface level person by any means, right? So you won't see anything that I wrote down that has anything to do with a physical appearance. That doesn't matter to me because that comes second, right? Everything else on my list was energetically, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, what I need, what I'm expecting, what I'm allowing to come to me, right? But then also with that, again, becoming that. So if I want this person to read good books and be,
They could read good. Can
intellectual,
you
then
read
I guess
good?
I start reading.
Could you read good or whatever?
Can you read good?
As long as you can read good, we good. You know, could you read? Because if you can't read good, I don't know, but.
I am a work in progress. Thank you.
As we all are. But yes, you're right.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you just have to be that, right? So I'm like, all right, bet. Let me pick up a book. You know what I mean? And not just a book doesn't mean y'all fucking, you know, goddamn magazine written by some dumbass. It means no, it doesn't. No, it means something of intellectual substance, of matter, of significance, of history.
When you're reading,
whatever.
If you're reading, just to touch on that, when people say like, "What are you reading?" It's like, and you look at what am I reading? You have to ask yourself: is this challenging me? Is this teaching me? Is this changing me?
That's right.
If it's not doing any of those things, you can read for entertainment. That's fine. However, if that's all you're doing is entertaining yourself, you have to ask yourself, why am I avoiding being challenged and changed?
Exactly.
Why am I avoiding that?
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. Let me ponder that.
Why am I not
exactly.
I
do. Right. Yeah. And then you're in this stagnant.
Exactly.
You're just in stagnancy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No. So I love that. That. So you mentioned that you had 2 discoveries during this time.
Oh, yes. Yes. So the first one was allowance and love and blah, blah, blah. And then the second one was, I think, I don't know. I think the second one was,
they're one and the same.
Just say they're one and the same. I think it was like manifestation and then it was allowance. And they go hand in hand, you know. Yeah. But it was all, the point was, it was all through me meeting and being in love with this person that I manifested. It all started with that. And it was just like, wait, I did
exactly.
Hold up. So
what you're telling me is
I'm pretty all I gotta do is
and I can actually just say
correct,
write, speak, believe. I can co-create
my life.
I feel like I read that somewhere once. Didn't I? Oh, it was a real thing. Oh, okay. Because, you know, sometimes we doubt our ability to be co-creators. And I think it's because, and this probably every single person who's ever read or heard or even listened to the term manifestation, they often think about, well, but what about all the other stuff that happened that I didn't ask to lose my job. I didn't ask to have that person break up with me. I didn't ask to I wouldn't manifest that. So how come I'm not? And I said, well, maybe, and this, I always challenge them. I said, you know what you can do? Maybe you can spend all of your time making sure you're only thinking about things that you want. Maybe you can spend, maybe you're leaving too much dead air. You're leaving too much room for just stuff to kind of pop in that maybe you didn't specifically ask for. But then also to recognize that, you know, behind every setback is a lesson. It's an opportunity for you to be able to learn about yourself. So
boom, thank you.
You need it.
Right. And they don't, and right. And I think that's so I guess the second thing in a nutshell could be too, just like changing and being more aware of my perspective towards things. You know what I mean? That was a big thing for me because like you said, if I lose my job, I'm like, well, what the hell? But then because you're not realizing that a couple steps ahead is the job that you manifested. You're just so stuck on being mad that you done lost your job. And I'm like, yeah, bitch.
But hold on, there's something over there. Well, it's recognizing there's a connectivity, you know, between everything that's happening. The same reason why, you know, if something negative happens and then 10 years later, there's a whole movement that changes the entire system that allow that negative thing to happen. It's kind of like, okay, was it worth the negative thing happening? You know what I mean? If the end of it was actually something really positive. So no, It's funny that you mentioned like writing things down as far as like manifesting, because that's something I learned, you know, it's as it is written, so shall it be. I think that's in the Bible or something, but it's kind of like word becomes law. you know, and, you know, the term
That's right.
spelling is from casting spells and speaking things into existence. You know, there's physical things that we can do in these bodies that allow the manifestation process to actually accelerate and to become more precise. It's kind of like
That's right.
learning how to, you know, learning how to write physically, handwrite. When you first learn how to write
Yeah.
as a child, it might be kind of
Mm-hmm.
wobbly, or you might have difficulty making certain letters. And
Mm-hmm.
over time, the more that you practice it, the more precise you become. Learning how to speak a language, you know, learning how
Right.
to
Right.
read, you kind of
Right.
develop a precision. So when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
manifestation, I like to
Yeah.
practice precision manifestation, and writing it down is a big part of
Mm.
that. Yeah, it's a
Yes.
big
Ooh,
part
I
of
like
it. So
that.
yeah,
Precision.
I think that sometimes when
Interesting.
people imagine like, oh, I want to manifest, or they think about, I want to work on some things, I want to draw some stuff into my life, that when they go to writing it down,
Mm-hmm.
they're writing it down thinking, would somebody else be okay with this? Or I hope there's somebody out there who's like this. Maybe, I don't know, but it would be
Yes.
nice. It would be cool if they came.
Yes.
Versus writing it down like, I
Yes.
want a 5 foot
Uh-huh.
seven.
Uh-huh.
I want
Uh-huh.
a person with the
Yeah.
intellectual capacity to be able to contain. I want them to
Yes.
make me feel like this. I want them to wake me up with breakfast. I mean, whatever the fuck you want.
Right.
Just write it down, you know? And I think that
Yeah.
sometimes
Just
people
write it.
start with the
Yeah.
exterior and they work their way in, or they start with the interior and work their way out. It's
Mm-hmm.
the choice is yours. You know, I think
Right.
sometimes
Yeah.
manifesting, when it comes to manifesting love, especially romantic love, is we can sometimes limit our manifestation requests based on what we have already had,
Mm-hmm.
and say, well, you know,
Exactly. But
exactly.
that's a lack mentality. That's almost like, all right, universe, I know you cool and everything, and like you done made all of us, and
You know,
we a
like
couple
air and
billion people and
whatnot or
everything.
whatever,
Like I get it,
gravity.
but right, right, right. Like I know I wouldn't be here because of you, but like I don't really know if you could
Exactly.
do this
Yep.
though. That's literally what you're
Exactly.
saying. That's literally what you're saying. And then the universe
Ooh.
has a funny way of being like, oh, okay, bitch, well then shit. Write it down, and guess who's not listening? Me.
Anyway, out of office, return to sender.
Correct. Correct. And they'll be like, I'm about to go to
She's
Simone's
writing
house because
everything
this
down.
bitch writing
So
everything
clearly
down.
she's available,
So,
but I see you busy, so it's fine. No, I
hello.
totally, totally, totally
So it's
agree.
fine.
I think
Yeah.
that recognizing that like a list that I might have written down 6 years ago, 10 years ago looks different than the list that I
Mm-hmm.
wrote down 2 years
Mm-hmm.
ago. And to know that, you know,
Right.
you can kind of check things off. Like if attracting or manifesting romantic love is on your list and you put your energy into that and it manifests, like you said, it serves as a reminder to say,
Mm.
okay, so if I can manifest a whole ass person, imagine what else
Correct.
I could fucking do
Thank
with
you.
this powerful tool that I have discovered.
Everything.
And that's
All of
where
it.
being very
All of it.
specific also
Yep.
comes from a place of boldness. It comes from a place where it's like,
That's right.
I already know the universe has got my back. Everything's always working out for me. So
Boom.
I'm going to go ahead and
Exactly.
write this down, because
That's right.
I'm not going to write it down
That's
with
right.
any doubt on my heart, you know, and I'm not going to create limitation where it
That's
doesn't
right.
exist.
And to full circle, the last step that I didn't note is to release, like when I was saying, and then just do it, just, act
Yes.
as if it's on the way type of thing. But it's to release that. Like, I think that releasing like I wrote it down, but then after that, I like
Mm.
never looked at it
Mm-hmm.
again. You know what I mean? I reread it and I was like, okay, cool. And I sat with it and but I never looked at it again. And I'm not editing it or whatever, because I had the knowing. I was so confident that this is what I wanted and blah, blah, blah. And like you said, when I wrote it, it was like, okay, because at that point I'm like, even if I don't get 2 things on a list, if I get 50 things out of this 75, bullet point
Yeah.
ass list, then
Right.
bitch, we
Right.
good.
And not
I
only
mean,
that,
like it was
yeah.
fine. So once I
Yeah.
released it, then it became just this confidence. That's how you show the universe
Exactly.
that you trust it. Like, I'm releasing this up to you, whether that, and knowing that time,
Mm-hmm.
nothing happens on your time. people are like, okay, well, it's been a year. And I'm like, yeah, bitch, well, guess what? Love takes longer than that to even form. Or, you know what I mean? Like it takes, or like it's been 6 months. And I'm like, well, bitch, babies aren't even ready in 6 months, like whole ass humans. So why do you think that it just like, you can't be on your time. You have to release all expectations, have no attachment to it after, and just accept and allow everything to come. And when it does, it will not miss you, and you will know. It will come and, like I said, plop down in your lap. It will smack you in your face. It will,
you won't
all of
miss
that.
it.
You won't miss
exactly.
it.
It's
Promise.
almost like you don't have to
Yeah.
set a notification reminder. You don't have to fucking keep checking back and keep clicking refresh or whatever. Like you don't have to do that. Just
no.
It's just it's let it be known, and to also know for people that I was listening to something this morning, and afterwards I kind of sat, and the thing that came up for me was the universe never forgets. Ever. The universe never forgets. Source never forgets. And that you came into this physical experience already knowing what it is that you really wanted to do while you were here. And if we have the desire, if we have the dream, if we have the notion that shows up in us consciously, that means that it's meant for us. It's already addressed to you. All you have to do is give us the time to deliver it when you have actually created the space to allow it. Because the universe source is not sitting up there like, I'm gonna see how long I can make Keisean wait before she give up on this. No, it's not. It's not that. It's more. Yeah, the universe.
It's just like, where am I supposed to put it?
There's
too much shit going on in there.
Could you throw something away ever? Could you let some stuff go? Emotional hoarding ass.
Emotional hoarding ass.
Bitch, but you got too much stuff in here. So yes.
Hello.
So I agree that the universe has your back all the time, and it comes from that space of infinite love. Unconditional infinite love. There is no element that created this experience that's saying, I really can't wait for you to fuck up. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. If anything, it's like, oh my God, I love you so much. Please figure it out. Help me help you.
Yeah, like help me help you, bitch. I'm waiting on. I got all your gifts on back order because
exactly. We got you with the extra other shit. I mean, you got like instant next day delivery if you really want it. It's just a matter of pressing.
Boom.
Same day. Exactly.
Same day, motherfucker. Exactly. For real.
So we are going to take a beat, take a breath, and we're gonna switch gears.
Love it.
Time for a break, time for a breather. One thing that we often forget to do as we move throughout our lives, throughout our day, is to breathe. So I invite you right now to allow 3 deep, intentional breaths to enter and exit your body. And by the time you're done, we will be ready to continue. Thank you so much for listening.
And what I like to do at the latter end of the podcast is to do a little exercise called Complete the Sentence. I'm going to give you a couple of sentence prompts, and you can take up as much or as little space as you'd like when you respond. The first one is, I am happiest when.
I am happiest when I'm standing in my truest power.
I like that.
Yeah. I found her again, and I'm ecstatic.
Well, good to see you, girl.
Yeah. Good to see you.
So when we leave these bodies, at some time our story will be coming to a close, and a lot of times we think about the importance of the work that we're doing now, and sometimes we think about what we want to be remembered for when we're gone. So the next sentence is, I want my
Mm.
legacy to be.
Ooh, I love this question, Keishan. I think about this all the time. What do I want my legacy to be? I mean, in layman terms, honestly, I just want to be remembered for being a person that any and everybody could relate and connect to, who showed and who showed unconditional love, who lived it, who radiated this like this infinite,
Mm-hmm.
love for everybody. Yeah, like I mean, I talk to everybody. I have no problems I always relate to people. I'm always connecting with people because I love people. And I just want to be remembered as the person who was like, damn, you know what I mean? She was just such a beautiful soul. She was just such a good person to talk to. I cried on her shoulder and I met her, 30 minutes ago. You know what I mean? She gave me the shirt off her back. She gave me $1 because blah, blah, blah. Like that is who I would like
That's
to be remembered
beautiful. That's
for.
good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
We have
Thanks.
different moments in our lives that kind of serve as milestones or
Mm,
markers or reminders of times when
mm-hmm,
real change took place. So the next question, well, the
mm-hmm,
next statement I
mm-hmm,
have for you, the next sentence is, I was
mm-hmm.
transformed when.
Mm. Ooh, these are so good. I was transformed when. I was transformed when I learned to transmute fear into love.
Period.
Boom. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Period.
Yes.
Yeah, I ain't got
Yeah.
nothing to say about that. Just
So,
that.
as a
Yeah. Yeah.
Reiki
Yeah.
practitioner, yoga teacher,
Mm-hmm.
as a daughter, as a girlfriend, as a sister, you
Mm-hmm.
give a lot of love to others in different forms. So, I want to
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
how did you show
Mm-hmm.
yourself love today?
Ooh. Um, a couple ways. So I am really big into self-care, but self-care doesn't always look like
Mm-hmm.
face masks and painting my toes. So today I turned off my phone for 2 hours. I sat outside of my backyard
Mm.
and I
Yes.
just sat there. Like I literally, and I mean, it's a beautiful day. It's been like 77 all today. It's breezy. It's beautiful. I just bought this
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous plant tree thing and I just was outside and I put it next to me and me and this plant just literally sat there and just like felt breeze. There was no music. I mean, it was still and quiet and so peaceful. And
That's amazing.
ah, yeah.
That's
And I love,
amazing. That's
yeah, it was
amazing.
great.
So, and feeling
Yep.
connected. Yeah.
And just
So it's like
connected. Oh, yeah, it was
sometimes
good.
we think that,
Yep.
like you said,
Yeah.
self-care have to be face masks and spa days. Sometimes the way that we care for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
ourselves is to reconnect with ourselves, to really reconnect, to
That's
be with
right.
ourselves.
That's
And
right.
to be able to do that in nature is amazing. So,
Yeah. Well, it's a reminder. I think that
mm-hmm,
the saying goes that
mm-hmm,
you are enough. Like you have
we
enough
do.
within you, but we forget. We on the daily we forget, and so that being with yourself is just that reminder.
It's
Like, oh,
exactly,
it's already
exactly,
here.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
before we wrap
Yeah.
up, I like to
Yeah.
do this little read. I'm working with this deck that I've been
Yes.
working with for a couple of years, and it's called the Oracle of E,
Yes.
and E as in everything in the universe. And it is a 52 card
Ugh,
deck.
love it.
So, because you are special, I would like you to
Mm.
pick two numbers between
Ooh.
1 and 52. Okay.
Ew. Okay.
Okay.
19
19 and
and and 25.
Okay, so each of them has a little message, and they're really fun and lighthearted, and then they have like a little spiel that comes after them too. So the
Yeah.
first one says,
Okay, cool.
Bazinga. Well, well, well.
Okay, yes.
Don't you got it going on? Now's the time to reveal in the sweet taste of
Ew.
fantabulous you. You've hit your mark. Go on. Take a victory lap. Pop a cork.
Ooh.
Let's get this party started. Celebrants are lining up at the door.
Yes.
So that's 19.
I love
Okay.
that. Oh my God.
And for 25,
Hello.
the
Okay.
message is living large.
Mhm.
Living large. The message is living large.
Wait, what is it?
You are
Oh, living large.
drifting in an ocean of gold doubloons. As always, it's your call. You can dive in, you can
Mm.
backstroke all the way to
Mm.
Istanbul, or you can stay on the piddly little raft you've been rowing, but it's all there, rich and luxurious as ever, waiting for your nod. Jump in. The good life is yours.
Oh my gosh. Interesting. That goes with I did a tarot card reading this morning, and that like is very synonymous
Lovely.
with
Well,
that. That's very
yes,
interesting.
exciting.
Very
Well,
interesting.
you're welcome.
Ooh.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks.
Well, now it's time to
Yes.
say
I love
goodbye
it.
to
I
our,
love
our
it. I
Negro
love it.
friends.
Oh. Come on, Negro friends. I'm done.
Oh man, this was such a pleasure. Of course, as always, it's like every time we talk,
So
it doesn't
good.
matter
As
what the
always, yeah.
topic is. I feel like I always walk away with notes in my
Nope.
mind, and I always walk away with
Yeah,
just
same.
a
Same.
greater, sense of awareness and a greater sense of self. So I just want to thank you so much for saying yes to
Oh, I
be a
love
part of this.
that.
And
Of
you know, you
course.
are
Oh my
you
God, of
are a
course. Of
bold
course.
presence in this world, and there is something within you that has
Thank
so much
you.
truth and so much power, and the way that you're able to just show up fully and wholly and completely and be willing to break yourself down and build yourself back up with so much courage is so
Mm-hmm.
inspiring. So I just
Mm.
encourage you to keep
Thank
you
you.
keep doing it.
Oh,
Keep
okay.
doing it. Keep wielding that
I
manifestation
will.
wand that you
I will.
have, and keep opening yourself up and allowing yourself to
Yeah.
be present
Yes.
for love as it's showing up in your life so
Mm-hmm.
abundantly. And I got you. I got you. I
Mm-hmm.
love you, girl. I
Yeah.
love you.
I love you. I'm gonna cry, you stupid bitch. Thank you. I love that. That's so good. That's
You're
so
very
good.
welcome.
Thank you for having
You're
me.
very, very welcome.
This
You're
is
very welcome.
amazing.
So
Yeah,
before I
this
let
is
you
great.
go, I know
Got you.
you have a course that you're working on. Would you like
Mm-hmm.
to share a little bit about that, anyone?
Woo woo. Ooh, yes, shameless plug. So if you would follow me, if you'd like, I'm inviting you to follow me on social media.
That's enough.
I'm only on Instagram right now because I just can't. Thank you. But my Instagram handle is at Sisu, Sisu, by Simone. So SISUXSIMONE is my handle. And so I'll be promoting my courses on there. But the first one that I'm working on is called Reimagining Your Rituals. And it's basically about kind of, like the people are always enforcing like creating some type of routine. But I think that a lot of us, the routines have become so just repetitive
Mm-hmm.
and really boring and just like lifeless, and just like it's become a large to-do list of just things that we need to do instead of finding dope, cool, and comfortable ways that you like to do, like, or that are healthy for you, and just weaving them into your daily life and not making it so like I have to check this, and this off, unless if that's what you want to do, right? So things like finding the meditation or the mindfulness that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
It is important to create that step. However, it doesn't always have to be at 5 a.m. every
Yeah.
morning and you listen to this and da da da. It doesn't have to be that,
Nice.
So just making it personable.
Okay.
And there'll be more to follow, but
Great. Well,
follow
then I will
me
make
and I
sure that
shall
your
share
Instagram
more.
handle is in the podcast notes. So if anyone listening to this wants to learn more about that,
Thank
you can check her
you.
out there. Also, if she puts out a course and you don't sign up for it, you're a loser. No, just kidding. Just kidding. You can do whatever you want, but she's got some knowledge to share. But yeah, so this
I'm
is,
like, I got some stuff.
great. So I'm gonna let you go and enjoy the rest
Yes.
of your day.
Thank
and
you.
we will be in touch soon.
Okay, darling.
Love you too. Okay.
Yes,
Bye.
definitely.
It's time to wrap this up, and I just want to say very sincerely thank you. You have your choice of thousands of different podcasts that you could be listening to each day, and I appreciate you for choosing this to be one of them. Right now, in this moment, I see the light, I see the love, the wisdom, the beauty, the prosperity, the creativity, and the pure joy that shines within each of you, and I bow humbly before your divinity. Namaste.